Mimi doing well in this round. Akita as well. I like the storyline as well. It was mentioned on the
Herkese merhaba
desk that
arkadaşlar. Bugün Valorant
Shirazi,
Espor
this is a little bit
izliyoruz.
of a revenge map. The same can be
G2'den
said though.
yanındayım.
You go all the way
G2'yi
back to
tutuyorum.
2022
Sokuyoruz şu
for
anda.
Alyssa. The blitzed out by
İlk önce
G2 in that
0'a
tournament.
2 yaptılar. 2-2 yaptılar. Gökleri bir kalktı. Sonra sok.
We'll be looking to see if G can
Petra Odin oynuyor. Çok biz
maybe get
gökleri
that little bit
kalkmıştı.
of revenge.
Mimi OP oynuyor. İyidir
Nova's been
kardeş.
very different year overall. 11-0 at the moment.
Orayı bir tarasa var ya. Gir hepsi oradan. Gir hepsi orada. Helal. Ent. Hayırdır lan?
Just a small piece missed of that puzzle for G2 and what was looking like a surefire round now turned into a 1v2.
A 1v2, and it's an op that they're up against. Mimi might almost want to swap that weapon out, especially now that they've got to play into the Viper's pit. This round looked destined
O
to be
harbi bok gibi
G2's, but
oldu da Mimi
Nova.
alır lan. Odin
The
alır Mimi
challenge
yerdeki.
fade itself now. It's Mimi.
Odin almadı gerizekalı.
Still with a full belt of utility.
Ulti gelmez
Gate
bu
crash to
tur
fall
bence.
back to even then. That's
İçeri
going to
bir
run
C
down the
atar
clock
mısın
quite a
kanka
bit.
Burak olsun
Looking
çünkü
at the
sen.
decoy. How it's going to be used, clearing out this pit, being point of contact. Alyssa up close is desperately low. There's the flash, there's the decoy, they spray it, easy kill, Mimi isolated the 1v1.
Enti be enti.
Staying up close converts the round. A big win for Nova.
Yeah, no, that was... I feel like she closed it out, but that was all about Alyssa.
Orayı var ya
Just
tarasaydı.
staying calm in moments that realistically should have been the end of the round. The fact that she was hit by that convergence path but just stuck it out until the moment was right. That made the difference. That gave them their third. And once again, after the last round was a clutch from Akita, the economy just doesn't exist for G2. That didn't matter last time.
No, it really didn't. It was Mimi's classic that took the highlight of the previous eco round. So with a few more investments this time.
Evet, Mimi niye kardeşiyle oynuyor? Ne? Sen OP almıştın göt veren. Aga birinci round, ikinci, üçüncü mü? O roundda da bak OP aldı, parası yok yine.
Especially on a round like this, it is somewhere you just want to see that default across the map. Wait for the aggression of those pistols, better than running into them, that's for sure. In the late round, we'll see them move to this A site. They made the right call, they're avoiding the judge, and the 3 players stacked towards that B site. Leaving Akita to do it all. The sheriff in hand, and what should be Shirazi if they go that way. Going elbow up against the Nico is always a risk. They've avoided her for now, and luckily, Icebox was covering all her bases.
Kimsenin vandal falan
A little
çekemiyor.
bit worried for Shia, who was facing the other way, but
Petra falan var mesela. Niye almıyorsun silah kanka?
the question now will be, do they actually challenge much for this, or is it just going to be an attempt to go down to the fight?
Ya aynen
Petra,
sikeceğim
that
bir
wasn't
tur değil.
really much of an option. For the other two, they would be close enough. They may want to try and make this a
Save
bit
atın
more
save.
comfortable.
Ya silahınız bile yok, var save at ya.
That's why the judge is just going to tuck in the corner.
Vanya save at kanka. Zaten gelecek
Those
yoruluyor.
actions
Sebze direkt.
unlikely to go Vanya's way. I think going down to the
Gelenleri
spike
vur.
is, and indeed now, is the only way that this is going to go for Nova. What a resurgence.
Ama
That was
işte o
right
midin
when
oraya
it feels
gitmediler
like
Vanya
G2
anlamı. Kaç
are
kaç.
about to
Vanya
get full
öleceğini kaç.
control over the game. That round where Alyssa tucks in the corner on mid and finds all that value. It seems like that clutch has put a lot of wind in their sails. They get an eco out of G2 right afterwards. And now with the scoreline tied up, it's their chance to push that
Save at.
little bit
Otur hiçbir şey
further.
olmaz.
Take that lead.
Yeah, and last time out they did great to activate off the Nightfall as well, which they'll have online for this round.
Dur para var ama bak. Sizi yaşamayın
Which has been online
amcıklar.
for a while. I wonder if maybe there's a combo that we could see with the Odin of Petra, which is waiting up top mid. That's why you're going to see the dimensional drift sent down, but there is nobody around this angle. That is, however, an awful lot of information. In fact, Mimi knows everything. The
Molly's going to delay them, following up on that Nightfall with Akita still in the corner. Stun goes through, but she's got one of her own. Further delay. As Nova now have to rely on another burst of utility to get in, but it's supposed to be Sheer in the back line. It's only able to grab one, and then it's a desolation from G2. As they hold that site with ease. The lead is back in their hands.
I will say, obviously it's been a little while now since it's been the case, but Tanya back on smokes. I don't want to curse out the person that decided to take her off it, but that was a terrible idea. Like, she was still very good on the duelist, but when you have someone who is this capable while playing smokes at the same time, just stick with it. 9 and 5 at the moment.
Sonra bir de herhalde
Shirazi also on the control on the other
SRG
side.
maçı da var, onu da
Viper has
izleyeceğiz.
been doing work. A back and forth game.
Şu map'i hiç sevmiyorum. İkinci map split. Ama işte bunda da splitleri biz şey oynayacağız. Saldırı başlayacağız. O bok gibi olmuş. Ona da sonra gelmeyeceğim. Bir sayede çünkü seni bekleyen bir sürü biri var. O bak oraya bu ulti gelir mi lan? Oraya bir bölüm sonra... Lan ya hadi lan lütfen bitti. Girdi ne o? Ultiyi bas.
And even if there's no kill off of this, it's likely going to give the info when you see
At
a
sen
split
de
up
artık şey
rotation
ama
come in from Icebox towards this A side, or they go
C ne
back
alaka
towards
kanka?
B.
Eceli atma ya.
That player being that close,
Smoke
something
değil
that
oğlum.
Nova
Ulti
have
attı.
to be cautious of. They're gearing up for this A push again. That pressure being put onto Mimi, but it's only an info peek from Mimi. I don't think she's going to look for too aggressive a fight. Akita, on the other hand, does look for that rotate and is caught by the patience of Icebox. Numbers even though.
Mutlu oldum yani. Oo içeriye sızan bir Alicia var oğlum.
But mainly that's because of the ultimates that are online. Nightfall available. Orbital strike, which is almost immediately going to be used if they're even clipped by a tick of the orbital strike. They're going to be in quite a bit of trouble. Not managing to be caught by it, but it does force them in to Amy instead. Steel guard and utilized, but only 10 seconds left on the clock. They need to get the spike down. It doesn't matter. Mami have dodged it anyway. Now the guns come back and Icebox clear them all out. It's not going to happen. A lot of ults invested, but the value was worth it for G2.
Yeah, without a doubt, taking that 2-round lead now and putting the pressure onto Nova, who are going to be experiencing some credit issues coming into the next round. The bankroll running dry, and I love the early round from Nova here. The fact that Icebox was so conscious of somebody taking that late space. They gave up mid-control after the Prowler for 15, 20 seconds, and Icebox knew. You're either going to catch a rotation there, the conventional way, where they're coming from mid,
Tabii geri
or
iyi
as it happens,
garantilik
there
var
was
ya,
someone
6-6
close,
zaten.
and when you leave in that position, you got to take the fight. Not one that they win, but
Kaldı 2 tur. Şu 2 turu da alırsak var ya. Amına koyarız onu.
changed the round. Big mid fight being set up by G2. You can see a lot of players
Gel
around
ora
that
var bak,
elbow.
ora var. Bas bir geri
Looking
git.
for info. Overstays are welcome.
Kanka ne yapıyorsun sen, bir daha böyle oynamam bunu.
Nova gonna be happy to be
Bu tur
gifted a pick
paraları
like
yok
that
ki
and a
kanka.
weapon on the back of it.
Ya git onu vandalı alırlar. Aynen öyle.
Whatever the initial play was about to be, but had already
Bakın bu
used
tur
the
paraları yok, 4 kişisiniz anlıyorum ama
ends up biting them.
sadece bir tane vandalları var oğlum,
He's going to be
alırsınız.
the one under pressure here, but does have support from Mimi, and with that outlaw versus those light shields, it is a
Bak oradan
one-shot
bırakma,
kill.
oraya bırakma, oraya bırakma. Bir kör et. Helal. Venti.
But one and done. Nova keep that momentum towards this B site. The plant
Sen
will be
Outlaw
coming
niye
through.
oynuyorsun be
A
göt?
rifle retrieved yet again. Now the advantage firmly in their court. The half isn't lost just yet. The
Abo
Slavs
Petra'nın
dangerous,
yeri
but
mükemmel,
just
Petra
about
bak.
missing the players on
Kardeşim sayda bir E atabilir misiniz
site.
artık?
Retake for G2. Not
Petra.
gonna be easy. They still have a lot of
Good.
utility. The one smoke coming in from Brim.
Icebox var, Icebox var. Mimi.
Molly as
Mimin,
well to
orada da
follow
Neon
up
var,
and clear out
Neon.
an angle alongside the Seas, but they need to hit their shots quick and clean, and the trades work in Nova's favor as they will finally put a fifth on the board, just one behind and a chance to tie it up at the half.
Ama en azından paramız var, en azından paramız var.
I don't think they're going to mind too much on
Zaten
the other side of
son
this
tur
round.
parası olmayan droplasın biri.
On this attack, and
Abu
it
klibin
felt
en
like
çok
G2
güzel.
got punished quite heavily there for some of those one and done fights,
Ben ya iyi ya, sıkıntı yok.
making it a little bit easier, but you still have to land those shots. Alyssa putting up the numbers. And
Sanki
that
alacak
was
gibi
sort of the question when we came in, is like, is this just
garı
going to
garı
be
bağırıyor
G2
göt.
outclassing an opponent that
Sanki
hasn't
alacak
ever
göt
faced
veren.
a team of this
Orospu.
caliber? So far, the answer has been no.
Oh yeah, they have looked very good, especially considering the fact that this is the first time they're playing this in an official. And regardless of your practice, it's a different ball game when it comes to the real deal. G2 again sending the Vice setup towards this B site. Amy ready and waiting for this challenge, but they will presumably just trip the wall and back off, at least for now. You can see the default being
Oraya bir
held by
cihat
Nova.
atar
That's why
mısın
you don't
canım
expect
içi?
that full push to come through. Sheer is looking
Oraya
for a
değil
fight
işte,
on
geri
mid.
zekalı.
You got Shirazi over towards the A side as well, just waiting for the aggression. And with a minute on the clock, the world is their oyster, really. Nova can take this where they want.
They've also got rid of pretty much all of that Vice setup already.
Önünde var ama pikleme bence. Sana tavsiyem piklememe.
G2 to commit an additional player in towards this B site and potentially opens up other portions of the map. Now they are going to go back in that direction. The idea was to sell this
B sayıda
and then
bırakmadınız inşallah.
fade back in towards B. With that Nightfall online again, both players are going to be connected.
Kör olsam bile bir sıkıntı yok.
Get another set of thorns going through to pop that
Sıkıntı yok,
delay.
sıkıntı yok, sıkıntı
Nova
yok.
following up still onto Amy. Mimi in the corner grabs herself a double. Well, they're right back in the.
Mako, who is your bias?
Arkadaşlar şu
And was there
reklam
any
bitsin, ben
player?
sizi geri yani videoyu başlatırım geri, bye bye.
As soon as it was online and pushing that player out of heaven, so
He gets a lot of kills. That's a lot of orbital strikes.
so definitely no criticism there. And I suppose I owe Drew Spark my apologies as well as Vanya, of course, who I should never doubt and never will again. My apologies. 7-5 as we get into the second half, and it's already a big mid fight from G2, putting a lot of pressure around this angle, and you can already see. Prowler going through means they want that control. Akita's following it up slowly, but Clem quick to connect the headshot. Puts Nova in a 5 versus, well, now 3 into 2. It's Petra and Amy. Double the numbers on the other side. Spike down and no chance by the looks of things.
Amy's like, I got flanked, stay alive. I got flanked, stay alive. Well, unfortunately, nobody's staying alive. It's going to be all down to her. Always very good with these pistols, but the amount of utility on the other side is going to make it difficult to smoke. Leaving her in an awkward spot. The one thing she does have is time. 45 seconds. Obviously, there's no good way to go about this round, and the way that Nova are currently grouped up, there's not really an individual fight, although saying that, Icebox did decide to go looking. They're going to now try and swing it together. And well, with synergy like that, what can go wrong? The 6th on the board for Nova, an important victory in the pistol, and a good start to their defense.
Yeah, this is very much needed as well when we talk about G2 and this attack side, expecting numbers to be there, and an early injection of rounds like that only casts further doubt on whether Nova will be able to match up. But now, pistol round under their belt, a potential 7-7 on the board, and Clem looking clean in a lot of those early fights. That's showing a lot of promise. I also like their buy coming into this round more than I did G2's second round. Yes, the Spectre can be strong, but this gives them a lot more to work with, and I'm just a massive Outlaw fan in general.
Yeah, the only difference is the gamble of losing guns. Because you basically, if 2 people go down, that's a problem. Whereas for G2, it's like, oh no, I lost the Spectre, oh no, I lost the Sheriff. Like, it is, that difference is the gamble. Basically, if 2 people go down, that's a problem. Whereas for G2, it's like, oh no, I lost the Spectre, oh no, I lost the Sheriff. Like, it is, that's the kind of trade-out. Already, though, that's not the best of starts. That's a gun into the hands of Petra. In fact, it's a Guardian as well, so high damage potential with what they can do. Also looking to try and get a little bit more aggressive with some of their
Vallahi
positioning,
yerini
whereas the
bırakmazsam
defense
var.
are all
Öyle bir
grouping up
yerdesin ki.
together. They do have to be careful.
Dön saydız.
I mean, the numbers are the
Bakma
real
oraya,
advantage
saygısız
when you've
oğlum.
got those classics, right? But you allow
Buraya
Nova to
buna
group up and
bakabilirim
push in.
acaba?
You understand why they want to get ahead of it. Amy
Bayram,
spots a bit of info,
bayram.
falls back, a spam attempt coming in from Petra. And some of these players very
Helal.
low. Amy's
Helal.
only got one with the right
Anladım
click.
ya.
This is looking so doable for G2. Nova
Helal.
need to buckle down
Helal.
as Petra puts them in the ground. A MasterCard
Çok
thrifty.
arkadaşlar, izlediğime
The one
değmez,
thing
çok
we
basit
didn't want
oluyor.
to see, an early injection of rounds. Well, it seems unavoidable now.
That's pain. That's just pain. Like, it wasn't even much of an investment at all. It was actually just good use of the smokes to create some very, very close angles on the way out. The Guardian, it was, again, you buy all of those higher impact weapons, one of them goes into another person's hands, that person is Petra, and that's the round done. It is a costly one and a huge injection of cash as well, because they got to pick up all the weapons that you just dropped.
Yeah, it's already enough of an advantage winning that second round. But then you get that little extra economic buff. Now you're up against a very weak buy.
4 pickups? They get 4 guns from that?
So, yeah. It was at least 3 that I saw. And then you look at Nova now. They don't have a lot to fight back in. This is not a round we want to see them win necessarily, but damage is key. We need Nova to drop some of those weapons. So this is going to be an uphill battle in this early half. Petra! What a shot onto Clem, matching up to the shot Clem hit in that pistol. As now, the flank around for Makita seems to close this round out. Shirazi set to go 9-6. 4 players left alive. The question of damage goes unanswered.
It almost feels like Petra's just gone, since you've gifted me this Guardian, I've come to use it very well. Like, when a player's sliding across the ground like that, it's always going to be difficult. She's already managed to earn up the majority of all needed for her ultimate, which, well, we already saw the impact of the Nightfall in the previous half. I think it was probably the most impactful ult we saw coming out of Alyssa. She did very well with it, so a lot of danger now coming in with a full purchase on the other side. And yeah, this is a full buy plus maybe 1 or 2 rounds of potential repurchase for G2. They've got a lot of credits to play with.
Yeah, G2 coming in as favorites and now having that extra wiggle room. Nice shutdown though by Sheer to start this. Petra keeps on going. That Guardian hasn't been taken out of her hands. Maybe it won't. That's a spam from Vanya straight through the mid-smoke that she put down. For Nova, a 4 versus 3 off rip in a round where they full invested, and the B site is the target, which, as we can see, is wide open. And now G2 can see that too.
The only thing they really need to worry about is maybe somebody swinging in from heaven. It now almost becomes a question of how much are you willing to gamble to get back into this site. Because the problem with losing a lot of players so early in the round is there's a lot of utility still to play with, more thorns available, the flash still available, C's still available. Like, this is a lot of potential denial. And also, the defenders are all coming in for 1 choke. A lot that they need to clear, even wary of heaven, and understandably so. Shirazi, though, that's a gun barrel. That's a spot. A second as well. Player in the corner, though, they haven't been able to clear. It was actually Vanya to find the first kill. That left Mimi hidden, but Shirazi is fighting strong. Already to look to bring this back, and it's the headshot, but does she have the time? It's close. That will be the question. So close. I think she just about got it. A second and a half left on the clock. The Red Bull clutch, and Shirazi, a hero.
This is the moment when you need those to step up as well. The big investment from Nova, they would have been left in the dust. Double digits for G2 and Eco out of the defensive side. And my goodness, sad story considering how Nova performed. But Shirazi puts the team on her back. A huge clutch up. Nini, who's been putting up numbers, caught out in that corner with 4 bullets left. She catches Vanya. You can hear it in her voice. Just how big of a deal this round was to connect. Now a 2-round gap and a chance to make up on this. The barrier's already up as we get into the game, and you can see the G2 are wasting no time with taking control, but Clem, the one to open this up with the judge.
Yeah, the worry coming into this round was that you only survived with 1 player. G2 had a good opportunity to just repurchase immediately. In fact, I think it was even an outlaw in play for Mimi, because she was thinking, okay, there's going to be light shields. Well, the low buy of the judge has worked wonders. A great start. And again, you kind of look at this play now and go, do you want to try and make it around that corner?
Ya bir kör at bir şey at ya öyle ama. Bence öyle. Tanıyorlar lan. Oğlum abi ne yapıyor? Entelana değil. Onu iyi oynuyor değil mi?
The A side being pressured, but the spike still has to cross. They've got control. But a player sneaking out of that smoke could be a death sentence. That's why Vanya waited for the smoke that was covering her
Gidin
off
hadi sayda.
to fade. Waited for Akita to get into this corner. Now they've
Artık
got the
vallahi
control.
bak kanka.
Now they've got the
Full
plan.
mid, full mid.
Akita in this
Base'den de
corner.
gelen var.
Oh, it doesn't
Onların
look like
base'inden
she was
gelen de var helal.
expected. The 3 versus 2
Spike
has
vurduğu
a
yere bak
reward.
oğlum. Spike oluyor mu oraya lan?
Razi's still standing, so I might just have to believe for the moment. He did impeccable work in the last round to give them this chance.
Kanka buraya bir G atsam ona hemen öndereyim mi?
The post plant is not going to be
Oğlum
easy to
Spike
beat.
harbi
I'm
iyi
looking
yere
at
kurmuşlar.
Akita
Oraya
already
kurulmuyor diye
wrapping back
biliyordum
around
ben.
as the other two players looking to bait and what maybe the bait
Valla
will
ben
be
oraya
enough.
kurulmuyor diye biliyordum.
Akita's there to close. G2 right back on the horse. And
Babaanneni
even though this round
sapla.
started well, the
Babaanneni
danger is
sapla.
said was that this was an immediate reset of the economy. Well,
Sapla.
unfortunately, that has
Babaanneni
now
sapla.
come true.
I love this from Akita as well, the fact that she goes wrapping around on elbow. So
Helal
first of all, I think
kardeşim.
finding the 2 in mid. Like the
It's
first kill,
insane.
jumping judge, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes it's kind, sometimes it's not. But left her so low and she swings out and domes another. Had a chance for more. But that kill there from Akita is so important because that has done so much damage
Ne oldu?
to Nova. They were in that 2 versus 3. It was worth
Durduruyorum
going for.
arkadaşlar.
Once they
Geri
lose a
dönüyorum
player and it's a
bitsin.
Thrown. And this is another
Başladı
chance for G2
arkadaşlar.
just to extend that economic advantage even further. A couple of ultimates already online. The likelihood is for Mimi, if she gets an orb or a kill, she'll have an ult. Vanya may even have it, and
Ya
it
bu
puts
sayıda
them in such a
gidemezsiniz ya,
strong
bu sayıda
position just to
gidemezsiniz.
close out
Siz
those last
zorlamayın
couple of
diyorum.
rounds. As I said, on their
Spike Manya'da değil
fairly
değil mi?
heavily
Bak onu
favoured side of the
söyle bana.
map, so
Ha, tamam onda değil.
it is definitely bleak times for
Spike'in
Nova.
de amına,
Split,
ha,
of course, has
başta.
been out of the pool for a little while, but
Abi bir kör atın
G2
kanka. Abi
regionally
sen bir
was
kör
very good, and you can say the
yapıştır
same
bana.
for Nova, but obviously
Oradan bir kör at girin sayda direkt
with
ya.
only a couple of organizations competing within China, it's a little bit of a different beast. I'm sure Nova would have wanted this surprise to work out, but we'll have to wait and see if they've got the stones to turn it around from here.
Oh, they've made the wrong
Into
gamble in
başta.
this round. The A site, 4 players there.
Maçtan bir yanı yok.
Shirazi's now hearing that it's the wrong spot to have numbers in there. Hold on. If she lets the decoy go
Shiraza'yı
past, it
görmediler.
could be
Helal
huge.
lan.
Baggy just spammed the box.
Bir şey
All right,
diyeceğim.
well,
Vanya'da
all the trigger
5
discipline
olabilir
in the
mi?
world ain't going to help you
Evet.
out of that one. Never mind. No damage in the spawn. Great control for G2. They've got heaven space. The one thing is the plant isn't for there, so if Nova can slip by, great. But that's going to be easier said than done with a big battle waiting for them as they round the corner. Death is all that awaits them. 11-7 in flawless fashion. G2 now on the home stretch.
Yeah, and this is what I'm
Birinci
talking
map
about
çok
with the
basit oldu
ultimates.
oğlum ya.
3 of them online, one of them
Acayip
one all the
basit
way,
oldu
which they
birinci
may
map.
just look to
Baksana
count
kanka aynı şeyi
for
vuracağım.
immediately. But then you also have the factor of, do you doubt that Vanya will get one
Mimi
kill?
sonda ama
I
şeyin
don't.
aminim var.
On the other side of
İkili
things,
çalmış.
Nightfall close. And I am looking at Clem with the operator and the overdrive in pocket.
Yağmacı
Something we're yet
okuyanmış
to
bildik.
really see from her
Yani
yet, but
oynamış. Boş ver.
looks like they're
Zaten
going to try
Obi'yle
and
ne yapabilirsin ki ne o mesela
put
yani
her
orman
into
hızında.
position. Now there is Amy waiting on the other side. In fact, there's a couple of players. She needs to hit this shot and get out immediately, and that's exactly what she does. Very nice.
Çok iyi oynuyor
That was
Obi.
clean as can be. Now Mimi's on the wrap up behind. Already used that dimensional drift and is
Çıkma,
plunking down a kill, but Clem has found another. Out comes the shorty. But Mimi now poses a threat with the flash
Değil mi?
through
Onu
this
vurmanız
smoke.
lazım kanka. Mükemmel
Making a
yapıyorsun
big
ya.
impact, but Paranoia goes in. Rest of the squad delayed. Clem finding a third in the round. Mimi tagged desperately low. It's on to Petra. Look at his corner spot for Mimi.
Helal,
She
helal.
shouldn't get much, but Petra's there to cover her.
Kanka
3
kıyım
versus
düşsün
2.
artık ya valla.
Manageable, especially with the spike under their
Dırdınız
control.
ama bunu.
Yeah, manageable, but they're both tagged up. And the players on the other side are healthy.
Mimi
They've got to
dönün
make a
kanka.
decision of
Spike zaten
whether or not they
dön
now
dön
go
dön.
all the
Zamanı
way
da
back
var.
to the other side of the map. But for Nova, they've done
Aa yutsan
impeccably
yok
well.
kanka
Two
dön
of
dön
those
direkt.
ultimates already expended, coming in with a mound.
Aynı yerden dönüyorsunuz
post
ve şu an
farm.
sizin A döndüğünüzü biliyorlar kanka.
Definitely not out of the realms of possibility, but you have to think of it from G2's perspective. We're tagged up, and we have
Oğlum
a
A
million and one
döndüklerini
angles that we
hala
need to clear.
bilmiyorlar amına
And
koyayım.
they don't see what we see. They don't know that there's 3 players still
Hala
completely committed
anlamadılar.
to this B side of the map. So
Lan bırak shift'i kuramayacaksın
now
ama.
just almost going to have to gamble on the fact that there's no one here. And luckily for them, they are correct.
Lalalalalalal. Oğlum öyle bir fake'i geçirdik ki gerizekalıları.
Aggressive spot
Amına.
here, like playing towards the spawn to try to catch them on the
Göt
rotate.
oldular.
Looks like
Öyle
Petra
bir fake
going
attım
down
ki
on
bak.
mid, but this is risky.
Amına
They're
koyayım.
already on the run through. A little bit of tag from Petra. 2 steps at least.
Nasıl?
That's being heard. What a shot! That puts us back to even. But still, the HP advantage sits with Nova. They don't know where Mimi is, and they don't know where Petra's gone. And Nova's and it's a hit.
Hile kanka valeş
G2
var.
now with the advantage. The time ticking. Petra in the corner.
Yeah.
She has heated up in this map. Nova's flesh serving as the kindling. 12-7. One more with 5 chances to close out the pick of Nova.
Saw the poll earlier where I think it was 0.2% where Mel and Alexis were voted the better duo of the two.
Basit
I
olacağını
have a feeling
söylemiş
maybe that
miydim?
0.2%
Evet.
might have been swayed after that one because that was insane from Petra. Somebody who for many years has lived for this land setting, lived for these international events. And while it was pulled around,
Arkadaşlar ben de e-spor sıralamasına kaçıncı derseniz sonucum 0 puanım.
For her individual brilliance.
Çok kötüyüm oğlum ya. Hiçbir tanem tutmuyor. En azından bu tutsun bir de SRG tutarsa yaşarım.
Nikita wanted to chase.
She was thinking about it. We almost saw that dash up. It could have been a mistake with Sheer seemingly ready for the fight, but here it comes.
At artık şu an bu şeyini, çubuğunu.
Shots from Icebox don't land, and she's going to force back here. 2 players on site though. Both
Let's
angles
go,
covered,
man.
but big fights coming their way. Sheer has the trigger discipline to at least let the decoy go past, but this is going to be tough. 3 players coming through that angle. No flash to work with. Nightfall does just about, and so Sheer ends up being an easy kill for Akita.
Ya bak oğlum bu tur alana direkt Nepike'ye geçecek hadi ya. Sıkıldım.
The 3 versus 2, 12-7. There's no better time to put the Nightfall through for Nova. A bit of information going their way, but they need to get towards this spike, clearing out elbow at least. Knowing there's a player close, the reveal goes in, but look how patient G2 are with the orbital strike. They knew that they could run down this clock, and now the pressure truly onto Nova as players fall one after another. Alyssa seemingly stands with G2 locking in their 13th round.
Helal lan size.
Saw today Mimi and Petra talking about themselves as boomers. I'm not sure that's the case. They are looking like the young blood on the stage in the last couple of rounds, and a mass victory going up against a team that hasn't played this map before, and a devastating attack side. It was impressive, and now they go into their map choice.
That's the thing. We're going on the split up next, but of course that will be after the
Oğlum
break.
map 1 skilli ya. Şimdi map 2'ye geçelim arkadaşlar. Bay bay.
Now have to rely on another
Ben
burst utility to
map 2'yi
get
yersem
in, but it's supposed to be
çağıracağım.
Sheer to stay alive as the flood comes
Evet
in.
arkadaşlar
Heaven
yeniden
control
geldim.
going to be covered off
Başladı
by
maç.
Amy as they wrap up themselves around. Nice flash, but Akita is the one to draw that opening goal
Arkadaşlar diyorum
in
basit
G2's
yani bu
favor.
oyun. Geyik gittim
They've got all
çok
the bases
basit.
covered towards main. 2 players sitting and waiting there. The question is, I think
Level
for
ya,
G2 at
level,
this point, with
level.
how spread they are, they almost want to take a fight, but then you have that double up down below in the drop. This is a nasty little spot, especially considering the super late play from Vanya. She should be able to do a ton if there's anyone left to be picked up.
Oo 3'e 1'iz.
It didn't matter from this point onwards. Alyssa completely surrounded, and G2
Çok basit
are going to
olacak
get
yani. Bunu
themselves off to a
biliyorsunuz
strong
değil mi?
start
Yani
in the
ikinci
pistol.
map de çok basit olacak.
It's definitely a composition as well that I've enjoyed in terms of that double duelist. Like, we've seen Yoru Rays become incredibly popular on this map. Of course, I think the last time G2 were playing this, they still had Nello in the roster, so a slightly different variation. I think Amy was even playing a Fade at that point, so this was where some of their roles were a little bit more questionable before Petra came back in and now picks up that Fade once again. This is where it looks like there's a lot more comfort in the roles that they're playing, but I think Mimi's Yoru is something I've been really pleasantly surprised by, because I think that there's no doubt that if you've watched like any streams or anything like that over the last few years of hers, her individual ability is very impressive, but it's always been a utility that I think has been maybe even second to none within EMEA at least. So the fact that she now gets to sort of put both into combination playing the Yoru, it's just enjoyable to watch.
You know, I love it here in Seoul, man. Those tech pauses, they never last longer than a minute, and I'm sure that's not going to come back to bite me. It's been enjoyable so far. Well,
Don't worry, Pansy's going to be here soon.
yeah, she has literally just arrived. I heard,
Başladı ya.
so
Oyun
if
sınırı
anything
resmi
goes
çıkıyor.
wrong, it's not my fault. Let's pin it on her. 1-0 start for G2, and it's the defensive side coming in with classics. But they're grouped up ready for this fight, and that's a double opening. Clem with two of her own. G2 having to battle tooth and nail to even keep this even. That's a great start already in terms of damage and the potential for this to be so much more.
If they wrap back through after the plant, they might be able to retrieve some weaponry, and that's exactly what Nova are planning to do. They've realized, okay, they've probably either fallen back or pushed into the site, so that's a couple of guns for us to try and play with.
Spike planted.
Especially that Guardian. We've already seen it in the last map, what G2 were able to do with that, forcing them into the open, but that forces them into the fight. Come on, luckily for G2, they were able to recover that. It was dangerous, and it was costly, but G2 at least got themselves the round.
Yeah, very costly indeed. Yeah, you look at that from Nova's perspective, and over on Corrode on the defensive side, they took a big gamble, stacked 4 players on A. It didn't work out. G2 went the other way this time.
FF verme var mı ya bu oyunda?
It absolutely does work out. So you got to be happy with that, and the potential here for so much more.
Direkt FF verebiliyorsunuz bu arada. Nova, FF verin direkt. Hepimize ineceğiz de ya, vallahi aşımız var. Aşımız sıkıldı.
Both of the rifles to the duelists, who normally going to be diving in. A lot of the time you want one of the backline players to have one of the guns, but clearly just having the faith in Mimi and Akita to try and make something work at this round.
Respected for sure, especially with the game that Mimi played in the previous. She was a devil even when it came to the classic play. Nova giving up control over Vents, this fight up in heaven, risky for Sheer, at least a 1-to-1 trade to start this off, but damage onto Mimi makes this even a little bit more favorable perhaps for the defensive side, if they can get a favorable fight. It's a late play from Vanya that worries me. You think about the impact she had even in that pistol round. You think back to Corrode as well. A couple of sneaky plays from herself and Akita.
He, Viper'da Guardian var ya. Yorunun da klasiği vardı. Viper Guardian'ını Yoru'ya verdi, klasikte değişti.
I was thinking maybe they were going to meet up with her and go towards B Heaven, but instead they are happy to just leave her embedded in mid for the entire round, and a light play up into Heaven from her to try to backstab.
This is where Clem should, in theory, be able to maybe farm up, but that's already the first shot going astray.
I like it, lads. I like
has been rotating in from her teammate though, and that's the main thing. They at least have an opportunity onto this cross. Shirazi clean with it.
Yes,
Amy will be there for the trade. That Guardian juggled into her hands, and well, Vanya, her patience paid off. The player in the site though is going to be traded once again. Amy in with the chance, but incredibly low.
1v1.
Icebox, full health, knows exactly where her opponent is, and again, this round may be costly, but Nova, well, they're going to be happy that they at least got it over the line.
Yeah, well, look, it's better than a 3-0 down start, absolutely, but the amount of damage done by G2 here, that initial trade 1-to-1, and with how low Mimi was, that very well could have been a double opening for Nova that went unpunished, and instead, they still end up in a decent position with Mimi's being taken down by a quick transfer as a result of
Bar amına kodumun orası
that close. Yeah, it's exciting, but on the other side, G2, now they come in with rifles, planted a big play from Amy. You've got the Viper's pit to work with as well, and the reinvestments on Nova's side mean that if they lose this, G2 get to catapult themselves further into the lead.
Also, a lot of the time with this,
oğlum şu ikinci map'i de almak vallahi, üçüncü map'e kalırsan öldürürüm seni.
Early space taken, and Clem is gone immediately. It felt like less than a second had gone in this round. She's going to bite the bullet. For G2 though, this isn't necessarily a call to arms. They can now be a little bit more patient. They've got lurks in both middle and B in case anybody tries to get aggressive. Now we kind of ask how
bomba atsan diyorum hani Akita. Bomba at artık bir. Kanka Akita Reis oynamayı bilmiyor ki amına koyayım ya.
No, there's not much, but there we go. The drone down through middle from Nova. Nothing, but they hear that noise on A.
Tamam gir sadece Sky var oğlum, Sky sizi mi vuracak ama? Vuramaz o.
Isolated on the site, it's going to get Shirazi in a spot where she wants to get that little more aggressive to support her teammate, but she goes down, and so does Icebox. Alyssa doing well, that third player, not expected to be this close to A.
Mimi tam önünde var be, Mimi.
Down by one.
Mimi kur.
A Viper's pit as well.
Vanya'daymış.
Really take your pick of what you want to commit to that one, and even the stun. By the time those
Onun içine
players get
girmek
close,
zorundasınız
the
eşekler
stun has
sizi.
faded. And G2 grouping up. I mean, they are
Smoke'tan da
fish in a
ayrılmayın
barrel if
ama
the
ya.
spray came down, but
Tarasana
instead
artık
it's
orayı
Mimi
ya.
with a very early wraparound inside the pin and a
Enti.
third kill in the round. She really has been having a
Bak
map,
bu
a series
Nova
in fact.
7 eli
The
alamazsınız
grab well to buy
anlayın.
even more
Yes.
time. We knew how this story was going to end.
Shorty.
G2,
Shorty baba
3-1.
bura.
And for Nova, I think that puts their credits
Çok
in the dirt.
basit.
Yeah, that's the trouble of having that very close prior round with the two weapon investment from G2. Again, though, you could just see how difficult a lot of these fights were from the Nova side. Like, caught out. I think there was even a fake teleport used as well by Mimi in the middle of that
teleport.
fight just to try and distract, try and almost put some doubt in the minds of the opponent. But more
Baba hadi
importantly,
biraz
Amy has
hızlı olun
been
ya.
trying.
Vallahi
7
çok
and
canım
2 on the
sıkıldı.
Viper. We said they were very good at playing this map even when she was on the fade, but you put her on a Sentinel, you put her on Viper, and you just feel like you're gonna get the
Evet
top.
evet.
I like Nova's idea. The gambles in these
Akita
mobile
kanka
rounds,
bir
often
C
the way
falan
to
at
play it.
artık.
They push, doesn't see anything from G2. Nova were hoping that someone would step out,
Clem
look for the
got
fight,
paused.
look for the info. They've given up, and now Clem is going to be confused and frustrated as Amy shuts her down. Everything calculated, nothing unaccounted on the side of G2. And a 5 versus 4, the Pistols going to struggle to find any favorable fights here.
Yeah, not a lot of upgrades either. Oh shit.
Göt göt göt.
She's gonna be playing around this.
Sonunda bomba atmayı
Right,
öğrenmiş Akita.
rotation has come in from a teammate as well, so maybe a chance at least for a little bit of damage.
Ya
but
Akita
we'll have
niye
to
bu
do
kadar
it all
iğrenç
while Mimi is
oynuyor?
going to make sure that no more damage will be had. Icebox with
Gerçeği çok kötü oynuyor
the most
Akita.
expensive of the upgraded, the A side cross as well. That Cosmic Divide can be a really problematic ult to play against.
Nova, so many ultimates close by. Economy about to be invested into this round. It is a big one for them, being 4-1 down, and a timeout comes out, really signifying the importance of this round number 6.
Those, and
Çok
it's
iyi
almost the
başladık.
turning point. 'Cause I feel like it goes much further, and this is
Arkadaşlar
terrifying.
evde
You get around when
gitmesinler
here
yani
it's
çok
Offshot is
uğraştık.
everything, but it's already going to be spotted, pushed back now. The stun goes into play, but Mimi sees the second
O ne
fire.
onu bir
Cosmic
yanlış
Divide
yaşıyor.
now.
Rahatım
Mimi's
şu
going to find a
anda.
little bit of a gap in spot.
Yorumunu
It's
olabileceği için.
beautiful. Mimi taking down Alyssa, but the off of Clem still sitting
Çok
around
zor
this
gameplay
side. She
yapıyor
is
ya
searching,
Mimi.
trying to find
Oradan kurşun mu
absolutely
geçiyorum
anyone.
al.
But Mimi's already faded out, gone back to the rest of the squad as Sheer is able to slip past on the backside. Nova
Yeter,
with
ne
the
yapıyorsun kanka?
lifeline. Sheer dominance on the B side.
I think that was a TP into the back corner as everybody was trying to sort of battle and brawl on the other side of it. She managed to just take the timing to get herself into the back of the site. Brilliant stuff from her individually, and honestly saved the round. As I said, it can be very difficult once you're sectioned out by that Cosmic Divide to get much done. But a huge individual play has given them that round. Sheer now tops it for her squad, and very interesting purchase coming out from G2. Not quite the credits to fully invest, although saying that, Amy has enough to drop a rifle, and maybe one player would have been low. They've gone in with a couple of classics here.
Oh, this is risky, though, running through the pit. Already one player has snuck past. Alyssa didn't seem aware. Another showstopper right on Shirazi's feet. Down goes the pit.
Yırtacak mı araba?
And Nova, they are spiraling here. Rifles picked up for the remaining players in G2. 5 versus 3. And look at the position of Amy.
Kurun acil kur.
With the plank coming in on B, if you expect this, you're a giga brain like I've never seen. But that flank has a timer on it, and it's going to take a while to come into play. The smoke that's gone up in heaven, though, might just buy them that time.
Flank? Wow, that's going to be something. Clem has managed to take down Mimi. That puts them in a bit of a box, actually, while that flank is still coming. Icebox has done well, but Vanya's still standing strong. And now Amy strikes. She's been waiting for a moment all the way through the round for Clem. This is not the position you want an operator.
Akita çok iyi oynadı bu sene. Bot dedim de çocuğa.
There was a few guns, but
Ayıp
still
oldu
a few
valla.
missing. And it really didn't matter when Akita plays like that.
I didn't even get a chance to say it that like, oh, maybe they're buying up because like if Akita gets a pick, you've got the showstopper. The fact that she walks through the pit, finds Alyssa off guard, then gets the Viper opening that road for her teammates to just barrel into the B site, and then allowing Amy to have this super late flank that really cannot be expected. And credit to them, they did turn to look at Heaven just as she peaked. But
Paraları
Amy was a little
hiç
quicker on
yok,
the trigger.
hiç.
5-2. And
Hiç
Nova
kitleler
left
şu
onto
an.
Nico.
Really upsetting thing though for Nova is like you see some of these again these brilliant individual plays that bring them around and you go, okay, this is the start. And the second that happens, somebody on G2 goes, oh, you think you're back in the game?
Yeah.
You're not. And just does exactly the same back. We saw that when they win a close round and then G2 manages to win one with pistols in the last map. That happened twice. One of them was a triple kill from Mimi with a classic. Like, it really has just been circumstances that you go, okay, this would be the worst possible time for that to happen. And then it happens.
Aman Petra da
Incredible
spike.
timing is mid as well. In mid as well, being able to
Petra bir
slip
info
past
alsana hayat.
that
O
Viper. in the
ecel
pit.
doldurulur.
G2,
La atla ne atıyorsun
Nightfall
atamına
online.
koyacağım ya.
Wouldn't be a good round to put it in up against those pistols.
Sen bir yerini biliyorsunuz artık herhalde.
Lots of open ground, lots of ranged fights to take.
Kötü yattı ya valla kötü
Don't expect
yattı.
to see that spike walking up into heaven. That's usually
Ama
where the
tabii
pistols
biraz
will work for the
artık.
battle, but it's on the other side that
Helal.
wants to fight G2. Oh, they have got Mimi down to 5 HP at least, so a chance with the 145
Dokunsalar
ping,
ölecek
but the
şimdi
big
ya.
ult's going to be completely avoided. Another pop flash, Amy onto Clem. The players from Nova
Oo, tabii sonu
crumbling, but
görmediler ya.
still some potential with these sheriffs. Nice pump
Helal.
down on the backside, won't get much, and yeah, just like that, G2, another round on the board. The lead extended, the pressure, that's going to get to Nova if they lose this next one.
If there was one salvo example,
Oğlum çok kolay oluyor lan.
three players wiped
Niye
out,
böyle
but
oluyor
there's
la
just
acaba?
enough of a gap that they can survive
Nova
around
mı
the edge
oyun
of it. It's
kötü
unfortunate.
oynuyor, biz mi
I
iyi
definitely
oynuyoruz?
like the idea.
Ama biz iyi oynuyoruz çünkü Nova ilk maçını kazandı kanka. Bana yalan atmayın yani. Biz iyi oynuyoruz. Nova ilk maçını kazandı. İnşallah SRG'de şöyle bir denenen elemanı yener.
Blips, but everything else has just been exactly what you expect.
50 dakika olacak.
Team that has been there, done that, got the T-shirt, has competed with multiple different variations of the roster, and is the only team other than Shopify that
Evet.
got their hands
Kanka iki tamam.
game changers champions
Kanka
trophy.
Valorant yetenek oyunu değil mi?
Bad start though. Icebox gonna win
Tam
the fight
silahla
versus
sıkma
Nikita.
oyunu da kankam. Arada sırada GC'de bomba atılıyor mu? Atılıyor. Bizde de bomba atılsın o zaman. Anladık bu bir FPS oyunu ya. Ben bir kişi sıkıyorum. Oğlum bir kişi ne ara kaldınız siz ama. 9-3 olmaz hayır. 9-3 olmaz ama.
The scoreline can close in from here. We can still be neck and neck at the half.
Yeah, and honestly, as said, like this is the side of the map where
9-3
G2 have
olmaz.
favored to play. I know you mentioned that the double duelist statistically has a lot of rounds defensively, but I do feel on this map
Ben
as well,
8-4 bitsin lan.
thrives a little bit
Korktum
more.
şimdi 9-3
This
lanetinden.
meta as well, all that goes out the window, right? I think attack side's going to have a lot more trouble with getting
Lens.
sights with the
Şu olmaz 9-3
initiating
bitirin
utility,
bir
and
kere.
maybe the double duelist will be something that is leaned on to sort of see that find success. Only time will tell.
Önceki round biz geriye
Clearing her has been
7-4, 7-5
important
bitirmiştik doğru.
part, and it came down to the 1 versus 1, but that's the second time that Icebox managed to
kaşınıyorsunuz.
win it. Shirazi holding on to the vents like her life depends on it. It did.
Petra bir şey yapın ama artık ya.
It feels like Nova might have just found their momentum. It's left all onto Vanya, and she won't get anything.
A 2-round gap, but more importantly for Nova, a dominant round from them. This is somewhere that we've seen G2 have a lot of impact before, so it is definitely important to see them still look that little bit confident, getting aggressive in some of those early fights, but not overextending across the map and taking those last duels together.
Para yok.
Shirazi and Sheer swung out on middle. For G2, now they come in, rifles, Viper's Pit, and a Cosmic
No,
Divide.
gene
They can get to a
okuyormuş
site
ya.
and they can lock it down afterwards. Nova will have trouble dealing with that. In fact, look at the B side. The defenders have nobody here. They're fully
Petra
expecting a
oynayamıyor
fight
ya.
around middle, or at least they're wanting to take that control, but
Önceki tur
nobody
Akita
seems again,
oynayamıyordu.
as
Şimdi
we've
de
seen this
Petra
with G2
oynayamıyor.
a number of times where they are very delayed in going for this control. But Clem's now spotted their intention. And that Prowler, along with the flash, not going to land on Clem.
Tara tara
Shot
be
won't
tara.
land on the G2.
Yalandan 3-5 sıkın ama şuraya ya.
Large part of either team.
Helal.
Akita
Akita göt göt şeyler deniyor. Tara olayı bir
take
bak
first blood.
ölecek.
It's all of that Viper utility.
Ama tam önünde
Offline,
orada bir
that's
cihan
not the
atarsan çok
player
iyi
you
olur.
want to lose in this contention. And while Clem's position is very
Kanka
much known, the fact is,
OP'nin
after
mermisi
taking
bitecek şimdi
that
görecekler. Göt göt sıkıyor da mal.
to almost bolster up middle,
Kaydı mıdır nedir?
seems like G2 are very aware of the gap.
There's the drone down from the info, but they've already heard it. It's all about that op shot from Clem. The top rope landing its blow. Late play by Amy through middle hasn't been spotted yet. And often you'll expect that Viper to be with the squad. In fact, the flank is completely avoided now. And they must have
Oğlum
seen her 'cause they even
yerlerinizi
flashed back out in the
bak
mid. But
Petra
yes,
düzgün
this is why
oynasın
the
de.
pick
Helal
comes back into
Akita
play to
helal.
try to lock this down in the
Akita
pipeline.
bu tur çok iyi
Right-clicked
oynuyor.
up top.
Akita bu tur çok iyi oynuyor.
Beautiful from Akita. And with the pit to
Akita bu
get
maç
towards the site,
mükemmel oynuyor.
just about covering the spike. This is a very difficult retake for Nova. The slide good, but
Akita bu maç
maybe
çok güzel
better.
oynuyor.
And it's down to the 1v1. Already low is Icebox, and that decay is going to take this from bad to worse. A
Çözüyor.
spam from Amy would be enough, and the snake bite certainly will do the trick. 7 on the board for G2. A lead at the half.
Ben neden gülmedim
Already
biliyor musunuz?
guaranteed.
Amy's just so calm
Icebox
under
bizi
pressure.
öldürdü sanırım.
Like,
Icebox
it's
şöyle
like,
güldü.
it's such a small detail, but a lot of people, the
Şöyle
second
güldü
it's
çünkü
tapped, you know, I'm gonna
Icebox.
snake bite. She's like, okay, possibility of tap and then swing. I know the timing.
Ben o
This will be
yüzden
now where
korktum o
she's going for
sıra.
that second half. Now I use the snake bite. That's all the risk gone. Because by that point, she would have already been swung. You're not going to wait till 1 HP to do that. So just intelligent play from Amy. And that has been a lot of the story of
50
this attack.
dakika olacak bu
Just
arada.
her timing, her spacing,
Hadi
her
lan
decision
Buran'da da
making
hadi.
has been sublime. A 7th round, and Mara Showstopper with 2 targets and 2 targets taken. It's an assist
Helal
from
lan
Mimi,
sana.
even if it doesn't come up on the board, but for Akita, that's about as easy as it gets.
Yeah, really snuffing out their flame here, Nova. They came in shining bright, certainly in that first half of Corrode, but it seems like G2, they found their rhythm. As every note falls into place, Akita's third. And Mimi looking for one on the backside, but it will be Petra to get yet another, hitting that final note
İlk yarı
as
bitti.
G2 end this half
Ayıkladık ilk yarı
8-4
bunları.
in the lead.
Yeah, looking very good on that attack side as expected. And of course for Nova, we knew this was always going to be a tough battle. It's now an uphill one.
Aslında 8-4 bitirdik çünkü ikinci yarı savunma oynayacağız ya. Bari 3. map'e kalmayın ya. Çok uzun süre 3. map. Hadi arkadaşlar ben maç başlayınca söylerim.
Better idea of where she is.
Petra
That
MVP
doesn't
olmuş
mean
bu
it's
arada
going to be
beyler.
easy to deal with her when she's currently 13 and 6 on the board. Yeah,
Demek ki buradan anlıyoruz ki
We saw
kimseye karşı ön yargılı olmamalıyız kanka.
heroes over
Akita
big individual rounds from
iyi, ben Petra'ya MVP oldum dedim. Akita MVP olmuş. Bu
This is the spot where the
birinci
pistol
round.
carries a
Birinci
lot
yarı.
of weight.
Kanka yani
G2
birinci yarıda çok kötü oynadı Akita. Kimseye ön yargılı olmamalıyız. Şimdi Petra'ya da hiç MVP oldu Akita yani.
But Akita down to 10 HP. Stuck in that corner, dodges the
çok az.
flash. It's so
Enti.
almost a freebie. But Icebox puts us back to level.
a nice attempt. Already though, multiple players left within the site. Now you can see that Mimi's actually going back to mid.
Petra,
Just in case
gösterme
they
oraya.
try and double back in the other direction. Looking to try and lock them in with nowhere to go, but they are pressuring into what is now a stack up of the remaining players, a crossfire that seems impossible to deal with. It's left to Sheer to try and save the day, and now even from above, Mimi will look to wrap him from behind.
Neyse,
There is
üçüncü oynuyoruz.
nowhere safe, nowhere left to go. G2,
Ben size diyorum kanka işte çok basit.
yet another pistol.
Basitler Nova.
And well, that mountain just got a little bit taller.
Bak adamın dibi
I have
dibi
to
dibi.
agree with the
Gördün
Suns
mü
out there.
yani?
Amy is unstoppable.
Nova
Certainly was
taraftarları ağlıyor şu
going into
anda.
that first map, but Amy and Nikita maybe need to get added onto the card. Especially Amy, 14-6 now.
Who's not on the card? Do you remember how Petra's map closed down the last one?
50 dakikayı tamamladı
She
ya.
was
amına.
popping
You're
off
gonna need
towards
a
the end
bigger
of the map.
card, is what I'm saying.
The whole roster needs to be on there. And so
Ben
far
bir
it does look
tuvalete
like
gidiyorum.
G2 in general
Bakalım
are
round
unstoppable.
gelince
The side of Nova
G2
stalled
Nova hala
out
4'te
this
kalacak.
second
Ona
half.
gidelim.
9-4 is already on the board, but we're likely looking at double digits classics across the board with the exception of Sheer. And already it seems like the early plan for that attacking side is to play the orbs, a slow round from them. If they take orb in B main, move back towards mid, and isolating an individual fight will be difficult. 3 Spectres in play. Honestly, this is the perfect map for it. We talked about the ability of that weapon now when it comes to ranged fights is insane. But then you add on to that the fact that there's plenty of close range duels that you can take here as well. It really feels like an all-rounder on Split.
And again, it seems like they've got the right read. Multiple players already here. Early utility. It's not a bad start though. Clem's done well. That's a player drop. Clem with the classic. Seems to do so much damage all of the time, and now Shirazi's added another. This is starting to get very interesting indeed. A chance to
rahatlar
give
bitmemiş.
themselves a lifeline, and Clem is
Petra
looking
tek
to do it all.
kalmış,
It's
alıyor
left
galiba.
to Petra, who doesn't know there's
Ama
another on
adama
the
bak, bu çok
cross.
kötü
And
oldu.
hey, that's one way to
Çok
find a
kötü oynadı
response.
bizim
A
Petra.
Mastercard Thrifty.
Petra'ya
And
bir şeyler
Nova,
oldu bu
well,
arada.
they're not dead just yet.
I was thinking this was the beginning of the end. Once that pistol went to G2,
Petra
it
böyle
really felt like
oynamadı.
the first bit of soil dropped on the coffin.
Harbi diyorum bir şey oldu
And
Petra
they
ya.
managed to come out on top for Nova, a 9-5 scoreline, and an immediate start to this half. Honestly, it is better than winning the pistol round. Not only did
Neyse
G2
kanka
being
bu
so
round
damn good with
gitsin.
the
Bir şey
classics,
olmaz.
but Nova get this
3. rounda kalmayacak,
massive
korkmayın.
boost to the economy. Now sitting with full rifle.
3.
coming
rounda
into the
kalırsa
third
var
round,
ya,
and G2
eşeğim
left
ben
in
de.
the dirt.
3. rounda giderse
I
bu
won't
ben,
dare to
yani
suggest what the
3.
scoreline should
map'e
be coming
giderse
out
ben
of
bir
this round,
eşeğim.
just in case, but Nova's certainly looking favored. That's the
3. map'e gitmeyecek nokta kanka.
The other two have the Spectres, and as you said, versus
Göt verin
well,
ama.
normally
Anca
Vessel
arkalı,
Lova
anca
is very
göt.
good, as you are witnessing. Shirazi
Anca
under
arkalı.
pressure, but well, they're running
Aferin.
through the snake bite. Oh, taste of her own medicine, maybe? Can Vanya deliver?
Kanka anca
No, she
arkalıyor.
cannot. That's fantastic. A flawless back. A huge boost in terms of orbs as well for Shirazi, which, hey, you're going to want a Viper's Pit as early as possible. And more importantly, the credits through the roof.
I was watching to see Nova's investment.
Arkalayarak anneannem de alır onu.
After that, still playing with the Spectre, it's not a bad idea. But they decided to drop
Ben
one of
göt
the two,
korkusuna
upgrading
arkalamaya
to a
başladılar.
Phantom on
Öyle
Shirazi.
I think Shirazi gets
korku
four kills and you go,
oluştu.
actually, I've got so many credits, I might as well spend some.
And not just that, give her a better chance to find that opening duel, to
Yeah.
add an
Hemen
orb
atma
to the
bombayı,
tally, to
siz
get that
info
Viper's
alın
Pit and
direkt sana
post
yani.
plant, which would be so important in a round like this.
Var hepsi
G2
burada.
investing. Losing this for the defensive side means Nova are right back in the game. And already, they've sent a player running. They haven't claimed that space all too easily.
This is a full 5 as well. There is no luck. There is nobody left on the other side of the map. This is an all-in gamble play from the side of Nova. But they've got to make it out of this choke first.
Aga sen neyin sesisin ya?
Spot on the backside, Akita good for just
Helal
one.
Petra.
But Mimi
Petra
and
helal lan sana.
they're
Petra
delivering
açıldı geri.
and stopping Nova in their
Döner
tracks.
B'ye.
A 7th round.
B'de
and not
adamımız var da
likely to
dönüyor
find
ya
its way into
B'ye.
their
Ananı
hands. We talked
sikeyim.
about Shirazi, 46 HP now, and still 2 orbs away
B'de
from that
adamımız
Viper's
var
Pit.
da
I
dönüyor
don't
ya.
think she's looking to plant here in the spawn. And with 45
Oğlum
seconds
dön
on the
be.
clock, yes,
B
she could
kurdu.
walk into B. She could get the plant. But it looks like we're playing the long game
Plant
there.
alacak ama,
Carrying the weapon
git.
forward is the aim of this game.
She has the credits that you could take a risk, but you're going to look at this and go, okay, I've got 46 HP. There's 4 of them alive. Maybe 1 or 2 of them have already rotated to the B side.
Ne
Maybe
yapmaya
one
çalışıyor
hit,
biliyor
like, I
musunuz?
don't know
Bunlar
any of the
bıçakla
positions.
dönecek ya.
And realistically, okay, an orb for me would be
Şimdi
nice,
Spike
but an orb for them
suçturuyor.
would be
Spike
damning.
down.
So I think just got to let this one slip away, unfortunately. And hey, you have an
Gitmeyin
extra
oğlum,
few
gitmeyin.
credits going forward.
Kuramayacak
Maybe that's
zaten.
another buy if things don't go to
Kuramayacak
plan
bu
or
gerizekalı.
you lose 4 players in a round victory. So definitely understandable for G2 though, an
Harbi
immediate
salak ya bu.
response. once they get the buy back in, 4 players alive will
Saman
be a
evladı.
build-up of economy for them as well. And with Petra finding a fair few, that's going to be her
Bak
now
adamın
2
dibi oğlum,
away.
dibi G 2G 2G 2G.
We do have the Seekers online. I feel like Seekers is one of those
Oğlum
old
bence buradan seyretmek daha güzel. Oradan mesela seyirken sadece büyük ekrana bakmak zorundasın. Oyuncuları falan hiç göremiyorsun.
They've called a timeout. And interestingly
Bence
enough, 'cause they've had
benim
that time to
tabletten
say,
izlemek daha
to
iyi.
sort of think over and talk
Yine ilk
over
yarıya
what they
girdi
wanna do, but now the
ve
coaching staff
24 saniye falan
wanting to
sonra
get a
bay bay.
word in.
As meta change,
Geri geldim.
that you know that you're going to come up across very different things to what we've seen before anyway, as you can currently see. Like this composition is
Oğlum bak,
definitely not
birinci rounda baksana.
out from Nova.
2 round biz almışız, 1 round onlar almış. 2 round biz almışız, biz almışız, 1 round onlar almış. Ya böyle giderse tabii ki biz yeneceğiz. Ya oğlum Kylie'nin bir bok yapamıyor zaten, haklısınız.
Brought in by Nova. It's always nice to see innovation. It's always nice to see new things tried, but
Variety is the spice of life. Yes. Sometimes you don't like the spice.
Ami bak, tam önünde.
G2.
Helal, iyi iyi
Snake bite
iyi.
down. This is a safe corner though for Shirazi. It hasn't quite extended as much as they'd hoped, and Mimi getting a bit curious. Ends up being dropped by Clem. Now the Seekers go out. Situational, but this is the perfect
Oradan
situation as
çıkmasaydım
they
biraz
clear
daha
the safe side
tarasaydım ya.
completely. And the spike can move towards it. Late play coming through mid from Alyssa, but she's now being caught. That's a pick
Mimi'nin-
back in the other direction, and G2
Mimi öldü
don't
ya.
need to get ahead of themselves in looking for a fight, but Nova wants to. They're looking into the spawn off the Sky Flash, but it's
Bakmadım ama.
fairly
Helal.
easily dodged. That went all the way around the corner. Paranoia doesn't land on Amy, but the rest are
Helal.
blinded up. Vanya stuck in the corner, and Shirazi's third lands. Akita up close.
Enti be,
And
enti be,
another
enti
big
be,
round from
enti be.
Shirazi keeps Nova's beating heart alive.
God, this map has felt like a battle of survivors.
Lütfen paramızın olduğunu söyle.
Explosive plays we've seen elsewhere. That paranoia as well was superb because the initial flag didn't land, but the second one left two completely blind as they went in to try and take the fight. The timing couldn't be better, and for Shirazi, well, the trade's ever important, but that final kill, the most of the lot. 10-7. A round that makes a mass difference because although they had a large amount of banks to spare, G2 on the other hand did not. They are down to Sheriffs.
Oğlum yapmayın, alın şu maçı ya.
Before classic up close, I got so worried.
Oh, it's close. 46 health.
And the right click not as kind
Ne
as
yapayım, alın şu maçı oğlum. Helal.
spotted players, but Akita somehow gets one and gets out. At B main aggression as well, having been spotted, but Mimi has TP'd back. Now looking for the
Vanya
fight
da
up into
çürümüş.
heaven as Vanya goes down. It's gonna be tough to
11
fight
kilo oynuyor
Akita
göt.
on the cross. Good damage, spike dropped up in heaven. Mimi might not be expected quite this quickly, and now Mimi's gonna have some help as the show
Mimi kanka hadi be, çok şanslısın zaten şu takımda. Petra, Akita.
It's happened before. Shirazi in the pit.
Helal.
That will be caught yet again by the showstopper. But it's left onto Petra. 1 versus 2. It
Zorla,
seems like
zorla.
Nova may have stumbled, but they will not fall. Not just yet, unless Petra's got a big play up her sleeve. Already isolating one. The reveal is there. The reload needed. And now her opponent rounds the corner to destined death.
Oh my god.
Petra
Oh
puts
my
them in their
god.
place with an 11th round for G2.
Petra çürümüş dedik. Petra. Şerif roundu kazandırdı.
There were so many moments in this round where I was thinking, okay,
Helal
that
olsun
will be
lan
what
Petra.
turns it. Maybe the showstopper will do it, but there's such a wealth of experience. There was never
Hadi
any
oğlum, hadi.
fear.
Var orada, var
Petra's
orada,
arm for
var
that
orada.
one. Akita about to be fresh. That was just a little pre-fire.
Clearly Amy knows her angles, but who's surprised by that?
No way.
And now Nova
Oğlum 7 yerleri yok, tamam, sıkıntı yok, hadi alırız.
on their own. And
Bu round aldık mı
have that
zaten?
Viper wall already placed down. Akita does well to find one. Its numbers kept in favor for G2.
Sana bir şey diyeyim mi?
Although the regen
Nova
shields will
bir
help
round,
Clem
bir
recover a
round
bit
daha
of that
alamazsa
lost HP.
birinci maple aynı
That is
şekilde
still
kazanıyoruz.
sitting with the defensive side.
They don't fully land onto Alyssa, so they do still know that there's
Var
somebody
ya,
around
hadi
there,
lan. Şu Şiraz midir nedir onu al.
Prowler not going far enough to track her down. Heaven now cleared. It starts to
Biraz at ara, o.
Vanya.
Duvarek
Also
mi var
someone
oğlum?
that knows her angles. Yeah, I don't think you're regenerating that one, Clem. 3 health. 30 seconds, and it doesn't seem like this is getting any easier.
Kanka banyon yeme.
That's
Yeme
slowed
yeme
down the rest of
onu.
the squad. It's only a
Oğlum
3
ne
HP. Clem has
yapıyorsun?
made it out to the side. Amy
Of.
shutting her down, saving
Kanka
Vanya's
Ami
life as the smoke
kurtardı bu
goes up.
arada.
And now how do you get out? You're
Vanya'yı.
just gonna walk through this with Amy and Vanya holding you as if you had a chance. G2.
Kanka Ami çok
12
güzel
on the
oynamaya
board,
başladı.
just like
Ami.
Corrode. They have 5.
Vanya is the one to take everybody's life, but sometimes she needs protecting, and that's where Amy comes in. 12-7.
Burant
The
bizim
buy,
sıkıntılık.
it stinks. I think the only thing really there is going to be that overdrive, a chance to try and close the gap, and Akita is ready and waiting. Clem gone.
Yeah, Clem wanted to put the pressure onto Petra there. She was stuck in the corner and still
Eight
will be.
points.
Dodges that
Eight.
flash again. Great wall that they have in play here. Got to give credit to Amy. We've seen that already have impact in previous rounds. And here maybe more
Ultimiz
so
var,
than ever.
ultimiz var, sıkıntı yok.
Still have that Omen to play with, but no smoke down. And
Karbon
Mimi
atsana ben.
has a field day with that. Covering the cross back as well. Alyssa pre-fires it and forces her off the angle. The paranoia sends her further back. And Sheer is walking down on the back of it. Even suspects that that's the decoy as Alyssa finds one. Sheer could have a beautiful flank, but doesn't want to risk it, and I like it. I think the discipline here is far more valuable than rolling the dice on that flank and being isolated. 2 versus 2.
Ulti ya, ulti ya.
From the shadows could be used
Ya
as
hadi. Ami
a
ulti.
recon. Her staying alive, fairly integral.
Kanka Ami
Two with a
ulti
chance
ya.
to end the map. Alyssa, a chance to get an ace. She's stuck in the backside, but still swings out.
İyi
One more
satıyor.
needed to individually win the round for her team, but that's
Tecrübe
where her
ölmesin
teammate will come in. A 4K for Alyssa to
Tecrübe
keep them
ölmedi
in
en
the
azından.
map. Maybe
Tecrübe
the
ace
most important
atamadı.
one they've had
Yes.
so far.
Oh yeah, that was looking very rough on the surface, but they cut through that like a knife on the side of Nova. A much needed win, 4 rounds in a row still to be connected, and they ran into a lot of issues here, but Alyssa, you know, you said we might not have seen what we needed to from that Tejo, but hey, we've seen what we needed to from Alyssa in that round.
Yeah.
That's brought them back into it. Give them a boost of morale, perhaps Viper's pit.
Ulti
in
bok
play.
oldu.
We've seen this a
Çok
number of
kötü
times
ulti.
towards mid, but this time Amy is a very
Gerçekten çok
narrow
kötü
choke point. I
ultiydi.
mean, she kind of needs to push forward to hold that control, but Clem is already past the pit, so
Yine
standing in
Atakan'ın
that
ultiye
tight
sokayım
corner
göt.
is really the only option she's left with. Prowler up top has caught Clem though.
Yeah, that's important information. And in fact, it seems like we're going to get a push on 2 fronts. One of them is in the form of Akita, and then Amy's also managed to find Clem. This might be the beginning of the end. As they've had to try and fall back in a chance to try and reclaim mid, maybe catch the aggressive player in the form of Akita, but she's gone. She's dipped. She's in fact wrapping all the way back round just to fight with Mimi, and Mimi's gone, okay. Well, let's just fall back and fight this one together. We have that advantage already.
Oh, Mimi! A double kill! And maybe the death
Double
blow
kill.
delivered just like that.
Monster
It will be a
kill.
triple from Mimi to close this out in flawless fashion.
Yes.
G2 have given Nova courtesy enough, and they take it 2-0. An impressive series from Nova. A lot of promise here, but it just wasn't enough.
No, and I think the more exciting thing from my perspective is what we saw from Akita making that sort of debut on this GCC stage, and it didn't look like she broke a sweat. Although, of course, I feel like having those experienced players around her definitely helps, and unfortunately, at least for the likes of Alyssa and Shirazi, it is the same again. You face G2 once more, and you face a formidable force, a team that has been in that top 3 multiple times, a team who has lifted the trophy once before, and a team that is the expectation once again. Nonetheless, for now, we are going to be heading off, more importantly, to the Verizon post-match interview with Petra.
Ezvin basitti. Ezvin. Bay bay. SRC 21 maçında görüşürüz.